Welcome to the first edition of WorldView for the 2013-2014 school year. My name's Elizabeth.
And I'm Rick. Our lead story this week comes from Africa. The upscale Westgate Mall in Nairobi, Kenya was attacked on Saturday by 10 to 15 Muslim extremists. They first threw grenades and they began firing randomly. 59 people have been reported dead, 200 wounded, and 49 missing. The terrorists finally barricaded themselves on the third floor of the mall with hostages as of Wednesday. They had been captured by police.
The M-Pesa Foundation just recently launched a program called the Nairobi Green Line Project in hopes to save the Nairobi National Park, which is home to many animals whose habitats have been taken over by the rapidly growing population of Nairobi. The project will plant 300,000 trees around the park and build an electric fence. Hopefully this will make the people of Nairobi realize how poachers are affecting the animals.
The Sudan bookstore in Khartoum, Sudan is the city's oldest bookstore. Although the buying and selling of books is an important part of Sudan history, hard times have forced the owner to close the doors in the current economy. Food has become more important than books. A group of Sudanese, however, have begun a campaign to bring the book culture back to their country by collecting used books and encouraging people to read it in public spaces.
Although African sandstorms are known to create a beautiful tangerine-colored cloud in the sky, scientists are beginning to discover their harm. These sandstorms blow sand particles thousands of miles across the Atlantic Ocean into the Caribbean sky, unfortunately limiting planes' sight to just a few miles and forcing some planes to land early. The storms have also contributed to people having irregular breathing and asthma attacks.
Jews and Muslims and Christians continue to fight over who should control Jerusalem. This ancient city contains sacred spaces that are important to each of these religious groups, and each refuses to religious their control. Jews, Muslims, and Christians have begun to encourage members of their faiths to visit the city, hoping to show its importance to each group.
Iran's president, Hussein Rouhani, has made a statement saying that the United States and Iran need to put their past behind them and become allies. Rather than making things worse, we need to think and talk about how to make things better. Rouhani also cleared up confusion about Iran's nuclear projects. Quote, "We never pursued or sought a nuclear bomb, and we're never planning to do so," end quote.
New evidence has surfaced suggesting that the Syrian military launched the chemical weapons that killed many innocent people on August 21st, not the rebels, as the government had previously claimed. The trajectory of the rockets shows that they were launched from the mountains where the Syrian military has major bases. A United Nations senior diplomat said that there is an ample evidence that the government was the guilty party.
This deadly gassing occurred in a Damascus suburb in Syria. Over 600 victims went to a nearby hospital. Of those, 125 people died, 35 being children. The gas was described as being a green color and is said to have stung the eyes of victims like needles, made legs buckle, and caused seemingly never-ending pain. Throughout the body, one man said after the attack, "When I woke up, I felt like Alice in Wonderland."
Immigration to Mexico from the United States doubled between 2000 and 2010. Young entrepreneurs are flocking these for has been described as anything can happen. Energy economists say that small businesses should seize the opportunity, even though the economy remains sluggish and crime remains a major problem.
There is a lack of support from the military for self-driving land vehicles, but there are some companies that are taking on the challenge of building these, like Google. There are a few unmanned land vehicles used by the military, but one in 2012 carried 10,000 pounds of supplies, and the military spent $6 billion for aircraft and land-based vehicles, but only budgeted $260 million for SDVs. Here's Jabari with the school service news.
In school service news, we have leveling the playing field 3-on-3 basketball tournament on Saturday, September 28th from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the Haynes Hosiery Community Center. Registration is $50 per team. We also have the Out of the Darkness Walk at Triad Park in Kernersville on October 5th from 9 a.m. until 11 a.m. The check-in time is a.m. until 9 a.m. Let's go now to El Tiempo Aguilas.
Buenos días, amigos. Yo me llamo Isabella.
Y yo me llamo Justo. Bienvenidos al programa El Tiempo Aguilas. Esta es el tiempo para el fin de semana.
Viernes. La temperatura alta es de 26 grados y parcialmente nublado. Sábado. La temperatura alta es de 26 grados centígrados con sol. Domingo. La temperatura alta es de 26 grados centígrados y parcialmente nublado.
¡Qué bien! Entonces, esta fin de semana necesito llevar una chaqueta, una camiseta, pantalones cortos, zapatos y calcetines. Es todo por ahora.
Adiós!
Sean has this week's editorial.
The U.S. public school system should have more hands-on teaching instead of so much emphasis on books and memorization. Multisensory teaching, also known as hands-on, is a more appealing way of teaching unlike our public schools. Current method hands-on is teaching usually occurs in smaller classes and they teach you up close and personal. Instead of just listening and reading, hands-on teaching includes other things like the use of visuals. Also, instead of hour after hour of studying a book, public schools do, teachers need to spend more time communicating with their students. Hands-on schools also tend to give less homework because they believe that homework should be just reviewing instead of long lists of things to do. Finland has many hands-on schools. Currently, their ranking overall in education is number 1 in the world. Places that teach similar to Finland usually have a very successful education system, as well as, for example, Estonia's overall ranking is 7th. Singapore's overall ranking is 4th.
Thank you, Sean and Jabari, and thanks to all of you who viewed WorldView this week.
We hope that you will join us next week.